fairly ludicrous to suggest that people who are biological males from birth do not have an advantage over people who are biological females at birth. Almost any sport, if you exclude things like chess, are a matter of either strength or speed or power, and those are things where, broadly speaking, males have advantages over females. So in that respect, I think that we are moving toward a more sensible policy on that. And I think that in the political sense, Democrats got themselves into a tricky and self-defeating situation, appearing to defend this on the sporting issue in particular, trans participation, because to too many people it transgressed a basic notion of fairness. And it's not only about people at Leah Thomas's level, in NCAA Division I, whatever. It's about almost any sport where as I say, anyone who loves sport or has played sport understands the passions that are involved, the time commitments that are involved, all of that, and it just seems fundamentally unfair.
Yeah, and I think, the Democrats did go too far. I mean, even if you go back to North Carolina 10 years ago, there was a broad backlash to the bathroom bill that would have barred people from using bathrooms consistent with their gender identity. And then now when you look at polls about bathroom issues, it's flipped the entirely different way, where people are much more skeptical about that idea and that concept. And I think it's because there were too many asks that violated common sense from transgender activists in the Democratic Party. And so now they've really shifted. The pendulum has swung back in the other direction.
Yeah, the bathroom one I have more mixed feelings about, because to force someone who presents as a woman into a male bathroom seems to me to put that person at risk also. I'm not negating the risk of of the reverse. I will cite Robbie, who isn't here with us this week, although he'll be back next week. His argument is to have a third gender-neutral bathroom, which I think is maybe the best solution to that issue, even though, of course, you need to then incur the costs of and space of providing an additional bathroom. But that seems to me the most commonsensical way of resolving that one.
Yeah, I think that's right, because there are people who pass, so to speak, and things get complicated in that limited category. I mean, I think one other important thing to note about what's happened with UPenn is that because the Trump administration got a win on this will be a roadmap for other schools that were allowing men to compete. I mean, I remember there was a huge controversy with a volleyball program at, I believe it was San Diego State, where a bunch of their opponents were actually forfeiting matches against them, forfeiting games because of the presence of a male on that team. So I think that they have the potential to rack up additional moves like this of either stripping titles or issuing apologies to the impacted female athletes from universities across the country.
Sure. Just one final point before we wrap this. We said in the script there at the introduction that Leah Thomas had to apologize.
I think it was UPenn.
It's UPenn,
yeah.
right? I mean,
I don't think they can force Leah Thomas
exactly.
to do anything.
And I don't think Leah Thomas should actually apologize, because this gets back to one of my points on these topics, which is that the athletes themselves, like Leah Thomas was entitled to compete under the rules that pertained at the time she was competing. And so I don't think that she should have to apologize, but I don't object to the rule being changed to make it in alignment with biologicals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously less sympathetic towards Leah Thomas than you are, for reasons I think I talked about previously on the show with the locker room issue. But I do think broadly that the leadership of the college and of the NCAA should be held more accountable for their actions, because they failed to protect the women that they are in charge of making sure they have access to a fair and safe sporting environment, and they didn't do that.
Yeah, I don't dispute that at all.
All right, we have a lot more topics to talk about on Rising. Stick around right after this.